We're here with April Loftin. She is running for County Commissioner for Troup County. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want you to take a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself.
About myself, well, I've lived in Troup County all of my life. Went to high school here, went to LaGrange College, finished up technical school at West Georgia Tech. So definitely a native. I've been a salon owner for 28 years. Actually bought my first salon when I was 23. So that was a wild adventure, and just been, pounding it in ever since. So,
what has encouraged you, or what caused you to want to run for county commission?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I definitely say this is a path that God has put me on that I've been very reluctant to, follow through with. I've kind of fought it for about 3 years. Really, the turning point in my life was during COVID in March of 2020. And that was when, being a salon owner, I was in the category that got labeled non-essential. So at that point, a small group of people through local government, state government, and federal government decided to label my business non-essential. Whereas that didn't sit well with me, because every vape store, liquor store, whatever was open during that time. You could always go to Walmart, but you couldn't come in my business. And so that just that's kind of where my story just kind of started to really get some momentum after that. And then the Lord just really started leading me down a path that put me in an arena that I never thought I would be in, because me and politics, we don't typically mesh well together.
So what is some experience that you think will lend well to being a county commissioner?
Well, being behind a salon chair for 26 years, being able to connect with people, being able to talk to people, most of all, being able to listen to people.
I was going to say, you probably heard a lot.
I have heard a lot. I have played multiple roles. I have been doctors, therapists, counselors, being able to really just connect with people on a deeper level, because my profession allows me, to literally lay hands on people, and that's a different connection. I provide a safe environment for people, and I think that's what's happening in our community now, is that the constituents don't feel like they're being heard, and that's a tough place to be in. So just that background over the years of being able to be able to fill that position, I think it was weird. I never thought I'd see myself in this role, and so. He's been training me for a long time, I feel like.
Well, I'm going to ask you a little bit about some votes that have happened recently, and get your opinion on them, or your position. So through the zoning for short-term rentals, there has been a vote that has limited the use of a house to be rented to 175 days maximum as short-term rental. And also, in order to apply for a permit, you have to own the home 3 years before you can apply for a permit for short-term rental. And also in that is there's a maximum of 12 permits will be approved per year. What's your opinion on this?
Well, the first question I have about that is that when I read through the social media post of where this pretty much went viral, I would love to know who was on the citizen committee that was spoken to about the decision. I've been going to these board meetings, and I have been watching, and I've watched people apply for zoning permits and short-term rentals, and I've watched some be approved, some not be approved. But I'm very curious to know the list of people that were on the committee that was supposedly chosen for this decision and these ordinances. I believe in capitalism. I'm very confused at the details that they have in there with the number of days. You can only have one rental. I mean, like, that was on there. I mean, I was,
Right. That is another restriction.
Yeah, I mean,
correct.
I'm like, okay, who gave them the authority to tell you as an individual that you can only have one rental? That's not the country that I live in. So I'm shocked at some of the decisions that have been made recently. I'm just kind of sitting back and watching it kind of unfold on its own, to be honest with you.
So if you're elected as commissioner, would you want to see that reviewed and perhaps changed?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Another hot topic for the last year continues to come up is the privatization of our sanitation.
Mm-hmm.
So this is almost a year since it was put in place. So it should be coming up for a renewal, at least I think. I could. So what is your position and what do you think should be done at the end of the contract that's in place currently?
Well, I will tell you, like I told LaGrange Daily News, I think that the sanitation decision woke up a sleeping giant in Troup County. It has ignited more people to be a lot more vocal than I think they have seen in the past. I have a lot of questions about exactly how, I think there needs to be a little bit more transparency about how things played out. I'm confused about bringing in another company from Dothan, Alabama versus our local CNC that we were using. Not saying that every company is perfect. Every company has their flaws. There's no way that you can be perfect. And, so expectations are going to be different on both avenues on that. But I'm curious to know why an outside company was able to come in and, take over and be in this contract. I also have an issue with them mandating garbage pickup in the rural area. I've lived in the rural area all my life. We've been perfectly content with going to our local, dump sites. And I have a lot of questions about that. I actually watched, some old footage of where they were discussing sanitation. I want to say it was probably back in 2012. And what I liked about that position that they put out there, and I really want to go back and look at the exact numbers that they put on there, but they were talking about redoing the equipment. They were talking about, the updates that needed to be done at each site that was there in the rural area. But what the county manager also suggested at that point was getting a group of 15 citizens in each district to come together and discuss the issue and the best solution for their district. I'm like, okay, that's great. Where did this county, why are we not doing more of that? Mm-hmm. Why are we not getting more, citizens involved in these decisions? Because these ordinances get passed and these policies get passed and they could be in the work, say, a year ago or 6 months ago, but because we aren't constantly watching the government website, then it blindsides us and they're like, oh, all of a sudden you have, mandated trash pickup, curbside pickup. And, even just, we were doing some door knocking and just walking through some subdivisions and seeing people's driveways with, just how steep they are and stuff, and, and the Martin trash can sitting at the top of the driveway. And I'm thinking, there's no way that I would, do this, especially, our senior citizens. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't like the word mandate at all, because mandates are suggestions, they're not laws. And so I think that was a bold move. I think that was a bold move that has absolutely backfired.
And so do you think that needs to be reviewed, that you would support opening that back up to looking at all avenues possible for sanitation?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Another question I have for you is there has been some discussion around individuals wanting to build homes less than 1,000 square feet on their land in the county. Not developers coming in and do it, but an individual on land they own wanting to build less than 1,000 square feet, where the ordinance is 1,000 square feet minimum right now.
Okay.
Would you support a modification or approval for less square footage?
So is that basically like tiny homes type things?
Well, I mean, it's 1,000 square feet right now, but if someone only wants to build 800 square feet,
right.
that's a single retiree,
Right.
So I've talked about this with other people.
Yeah.
As an investor,
yeah.
I would not go in and do that.
Yeah.
Put an acre,
Mm-hmm.
you have an acre of land, you have the expense of putting in a well, the expense of putting in a septic
Right.
tank, and then putting such a small home. I
Right.
personally wouldn't do it.
Right.
But if someone wants to do that on their own land, what is your position?
Well, I think that's the reason why we have the opportunity to buy our own land too. I think that it needs to be, I would need to know more information about it. I would need to study that a little bit more. You're definitely in the real estate development, so that's definitely going to be a key point that you can focus in on. Those are things that I'm learning, but I still believe that landowners have the right to use their land the way they see fit. It goes back to the short-term rental things again. If you have a parcel of land that, a lot of people use short-term rentals to retire on. If I want to stop doing, hair one day and I want to invest in real estate, which any financial advisor will tell you that real estate is probably the best, safest investment that you can have. why would I not be able to do what I want to do with that? Of course, there has to be, guidelines where people won't go absolutely crazy on it for sure. But I think, once again, that definitely needs to be on a, case by case, ordinance, I guess, or project, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Okay, and so with the development that is coming to Troup County, there is a lot of development in the city of LaGrange where there is infrastructure for that growth.
Right.
But as a county overall, is how do you welcome growth but preserve the character of our community?
Well, I believe that progress to our current administration is build, 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 build. That makes me a little concerned being in the rural area, especially being in District 2. It is extremely rural. I am concerned with the amount of infrastructure that has been coming into LaGrange. I feel like it's slowly creeping into the county area, and I think that makes a lot of county residents a little bit concerned for sure. I'm curious to know what the plan is after all of these things, get into place. Your roads, your education, are we prepared? Are our roads prepared for this type of growth to come in our community? Are our schools able? I mean, our schoolrooms right now are already, teachers are just slam packed with, between 30 and 35 students that it's hard enough for them to handle now. So these people have to be able to go somewhere. We have to be able to provide the proper maintenance on the county anyway. So I am a little concerned about it drifting into the rural area for sure.
Okay. What is your opinion on collaboration, and what do you propose for collaboration between the cities and the county and the school system? So I believe that the future of our community is in the success of our schools. And that this election is so important because we are going to have a new superintendent and new school board members. And even though it is not your direct responsibility as a commissioner to affect the school system, do you see it as your responsibility as a citizen in our community and in leadership in our county to collaborate and influence to improve our school system?
I think that's a great question. It actually has a lot to add to my story of why I'm in this position right now. I found myself shortly after the shutdown and everything with our companies and our businesses, being labeled non-essential. When I told you that the Lord started taking me on a different path and started leading me into directions, well, soon after that, I found myself in front of the school board fighting for my kids because 2 days before school started, they decided to mask our children again. That being said, our children that were athletes had been at the school all summer long, softball, volleyball, football. Everybody was running around doing a great time, having, whatever. 2 days before school starts, COVID's going to jump on them. We got to put their masks back on them. So we rallied up and went against the school board for that. I will tell you that I was extremely disappointed in the, actions of the school board at that time. We knew that they already had, I guess, a plan in place. But what I was more disappointed about the school board was that a representative during that time when I reached out, they told me that if I wasn't happy with the Troup County school system, that I always had the opportunity to homeschool my child or put them in private school. I thought that was a bold thing to say to a mom that's fighting for the future of their kids, not to mention the health of my child. So I think going in as a commissioner, that the communication between the 3 different areas of leadership needs to be wide open, and there needs to be a lot more interaction between the commissioners, council members, superintendent, and the Board of Education. I'm a mom fighting for my kids, and that's the heart behind what I'm doing this for. And at the end of the day, that's who I am. And to be told that as a parent from somebody who is in leadership, that I'll never forget getting off the phone with hearing that to a mom. That was pretty bold.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty bold. I mean, I'm just saying, that's pretty bold. That's pretty bold.
Yeah.
So I'm fighting for my babies. They're out of the school system now. They're grown. But still, if moms don't stand up and fight and parents don't stand up and fight, then what are we doing? Mm-hmm. I mean, really.
I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to tell the public why they should vote for you, April.
Why should they vote for me? Because I'm Obviously, the complete opposite of what is sitting in our current administration right now. I am totally being led by what the Lord is putting on my heart right now. I'm a mom fighting for my kids and their future and their children, their future. And, just an outlook of listening and connecting and putting faith back into leadership. This is not about position and power. This is about being a servant to your community. And that's very important to me. And I think there needs to definitely be a little bit of a role reversal. I think that term limits are a major issue. I mean, you've had 2 terms, multiple terms, 3 terms, and if you are still having the same issues come up with your constituents, the only way change is going to happen is if we vote it in. 24 is going to be one amazing year when it comes to local elections, state elections, and federal. I mean, this is where God is going to be moving big time. And it's going to be the hairstylists that stand up, the stay-at-home moms, the retired grandparents that are going to be running for these positions. And it's time for a whole different outlook that's coming into leadership right now. When I left the state convention last year in Columbus, whenever we were there for the GOP convention, I was a delegate. And I was so excited about being there because Trump was going to be there. I wanted to just be in the middle of it. But I was so distracted by the division of the Republican Party at that time through grassroots and establishment. I mean, there was a clear divide of, fighting amongst the party itself. And one of the moments that kind of just sat and rested in my heart was that the next day, the Lord really just spoke to my heart, and He showed me a visual of a red wave. I've shared this story before at church, but when I saw that vision of that red wave, the Lord clearly spoke on my heart. He said, "You will see a red wave over this nation, but it will not be the Republican Party. It will be my anointed, chosen leaders that are covered in my blood." So that red wave was the blood of Christ that was going to be covering people like me and other, people that don't typically fit the political square. I'm not a politician. I don't ever want to be called a politician. I'm doing it for the future of my children and their families. And at the end of the day, they're going to know that their mom stood up and fought for them. So I think we've got some big changes coming in 24. This is a year to do it for sure.
Well, April, I really appreciate you being with us today and sharing, and we look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you.
Thanks.